Hello and welcome live from F1 in Schools HQ to the 2022 Regional Finals for Scotland. We are really excited to be here live at Brighouse and we've got such a great show for you today. So let's find out what's going to be going on. The first thing that you're going to be doing is meeting the teams. Who are you competing against? Then we've got a message of support from a former competitor, Matt Ball-Torokov, which we're really excited to see. And then we're going to dive into the entry class racing, development class racing and professional class racing. What a show we've got lined up. I hope you're ready and excited as we are in the studio. But before we do, let's remind ourselves of what F1 in Schools is all about.
What is F1 in Schools?
F1 in Schools is a global STEM challenge, working with industry partners to provide an exciting and challenging educational experience. A group of 3 to 6 students form a team, think of a name, allocate job roles, and start to design their miniature Formula One car of the future. The teams follow a systematic engineering design process to manufacture and race their cars, making sure they comply with a comprehensive set of technical regulations. To do this, they use professional CAD software, like Autodesk Fusion 360, and manufacture their car components using CNC machines. Once the cars are painted and assembled, they take to the track to race. Powered by compressed gas along a 20-metre racetrack, the cars are capable of speeds over 75 kilometres per hour. The racing is fast and exciting, but there is more to the challenge, as it inspires learning not only in STEM subjects, but wider skills including project management, marketing, teamwork, innovation and communication. These wider skills are assessed by judges from education and industry. At competitions, the teams submit their cars and portfolios and also give a project presentation. F1 in Schools operates globally from ages 9 to 19, with teams taking part in school, regional and national level competitions. With the winners progressing at each stage, only the very best make it through to the World Finals. F1 in Schools is a life-changing experience for all involved, with many success stories of competitors who've come through F1 in Schools and have gone on to achieve significant outcomes in their lives. For some, that means working in Formula One, where the experience of F1 in Schools serves as the ideal grounding for the challenges and demands of elite-level competition.
Well, we absolutely love F1 in Schools and it's such a great opportunity and experience for all of our teams, and that's why you're sat here watching. You didn't need to see that video. So without further ado, let's head over and let's find out who are you going to be competing against today. So as the region loads and the teams are locked in, we've got the entry class teams, our development class teams and our 3 professional class teams there at the end. We've also had teams sending in their introduction videos, so let's meet some of the teams and see what they've got to say.
And together we are
Riptide Racing.
Hello, we are Ventura Racing.
Hello, we are Fruity Racers.
Hi, I'm Max. I'm Django.
I'm Thor.
And we are Gary Agents.
And we are
The Barracudas! We are Project Nitro.
Hello, we are Team Solarity.
Hello, we are Breeze F1 Racing.
Hello, we are Team Sisu, and we have entered the development class of F1 in Schools.
We are Vortex.
Hi, we are
Honeycomb Racing.
Brilliant team names and brilliant introductions from most of the teams there, so thanks for sending those videos in. Great to see some of the F1 in Schools props being used as well in those videos, which is great. So we've got an ex-competitor, Matt Ball-Torokov, who is going to come in and just share a few words of his experience and some well wishes to the rest of you guys.
Hello, my name is Matt Ball-Torokov. I began competing in F1 in Schools in development class. Before starting my own team, Fibonacci, we won several awards, including the Sponsorship and Marketing Award, and we became Scottish champions, qualifying for the 2022 F1 in Schools World Finals, where we won the Red Bull Racing Award for a magnetic rear wing. Since competing in the 2022 World Finals, I found out I got the scholarship to study engineering at UCL. So I came down to London to check out what studying engineering here will look like. Since then, I've been researching and applying for engineering work to do in my gap year to continue my engineering journey after F1 in schools. F1 in schools has been a huge part of my high school years. From the beginning, when I was CAD designing our car using Fusion 360, to learning to 3D animate with Blender, my technical skills have developed significantly, to the point which I'm now taking them forward in my career in engineering. By being involved in the entire design process, from your ideas to putting it together to make a final product, I've been able to make videos such as this. My advice to teams would be to have fun. F1 in schools is an excellent opportunity to go beyond school and to try new ideas. You can really do absolutely anything that you come up with. On every page of your portfolios, you should have at least one thing which you're really excited about, so that when you go into the judging sessions, you can speak with these experts about it and grow in your ideas, and where you can look back and really see how far you've developed through the journey of F1 in schools. My final message, best of luck and have a world of fun learning along your F1 in schools journey. Booyah!
Amazing stuff from Matt Boltorikov there. Some great words of advice, and it's amazing to see how F1 in schools has helped him along his way to further his chances of working in motorsport and in a STEM career. So well done there, and hopefully an inspiration to you guys to show that you will be able to achieve very similar things through this competition to Matt there. Okay, so seeing as though we are virtual, which we're obviously a little bit disappointed about when we're not in person, we do definitely miss seeing you guys and the excitement of our events. We have to have a slightly different format for the racing. So Nelson is just going to talk you through how the racing's going to work.
Right, so very similar to a live event, each team will have 4 races. They will race twice in each lane. The lowest team number will start in lane 1. There's a lane swap after race 2. There's no reaction times, unfortunately, because we don't have the students, so it's all automatic races. Any breakages will be fixed by F1 in School staff. And most important of it all, only the fastest compliant car can win.
Well, we'll pick up on that a bit later throughout the racing, no doubt. Well, thanks for that, Nelson. We're really excited to get going. I hope you guys are. So let's go racing. We're going to start with our entry class teams today. So over to you, Amy, to introduce our first 2 teams of the region.
And our first 2 entry class teams on track are going to be Riptide Racing and Odyssey.
2 great looking cars. I love that paintwork on Riptide Racing's and the neat accuracy 2-tone colours there of Odyssey, looking absolutely fantastic. So Lawrence, can you start us off with some stats for these 2 teams, please?
Oh, we've got 2 very different cars going head to head here, which is always exciting. We can see Riptide Racing have this really high rear wing. They're obviously looking to just separate that from the rest of the body, maybe remove it from the turbulence generated by the wheels so it can be that bit more effective. And in comparison to that short, tall car, we've got Odyssey with this very long car that allows them to really accentuate the features, make them all like a shallow slope so it doesn't cause too much disruption to the airflow. But we do see with that much larger car, it is a bit heavier, and I can't say that will help them.
Well, let's find out how much of an impact that weight does play in the first race. Let's head out on track.
Right, Riptide in lane 1, Odyssey in lane 2.
Riptide Racing taking that one with a 1.473. Odyssey a little bit slower with a 2.116. Although I do really like the design of Odyssey's car, so maybe the weight is just really pulling them back there.
Absolutely, and sometimes with those heavier cars, Amy, do they make it down the track?
Yeah, it's doing a really good job, Odyssey, so far of actually getting to the finish line, because some of the heavier cars don't always make it to the end of the track because the canister just can't really accelerate them that far. So hopefully Odyssey can make all 4 races.
Great stuff. Well done to both teams. Riptide Racing straight down the track really quickly, and Odyssey posting a slightly slower time. Let's head out for the second race on track then, see what happens.
Right, so still in lane 1, Riptide, and Odyssey in lane 2.
And Riptide Racing posting a quick 1.448. Odyssey going a little bit quicker with a 2.073.
Great stuff from both teams there. So just so you guys are aware, we couldn't do this without our track team of Amy and Max. They're running up and down the 20-metre track, bringing the cars back and sticking the canisters in so that each of your races is ready and prepared as we chat away in the studio. Getting the step counters up, Nelson.
And Tom, let me just add, in conjunction with the help of the track team and our scrutineering team, sometimes we need to make hard decisions. And one of the decisions was made on the Riptide car because of that really high wing. It was too far to the back, so it was hitting the launch pod. So in order to race, I mean, sometimes we have safe to race issues that we have to make the car safe to race. But in this case, it was just the case of moving that rear wing just a little bit in order to be able to fit the canister into the launch pod.
Great stuff, Nelson. So some key bits of information maybe missed from the technical regulations there just to make sure the car was safe to race. Well, the cars have been switched lanes. I got a thumbs up from Amy there. It's time for race number 3.
Race number 3, now with the teams in the different lanes, Odyssey in lane 1 and Riptide Racing in lane 2.
And Riptide going quickly with a 1.511, Odyssey with a 2.088.
See Riptide Racing going ever so slightly slower there. Lawrence, does changing lanes have an impact on the times?
So, I mean, we'll have to get through a few more races just to see the effects of the lane change, but as I can see our race team scowling at us, I think they've done a pretty good job, actually. They always work very hard. They do a lot of testing before these racing shows start to make sure the 2 lanes are even, and that with each of your 4 runs, you have an equal chance of setting your best time. I think more of this difference in time as we go on can actually be because either as we go through the racing, the wheel systems just loosen up that bit, a little less force required just to get that car going. Or, on the other hand, you know, these cars do have a violent deceleration. They can get up to like 70 kilometers per hour. These are fast speeds, but then they've got to decelerate all the way down to 0 within the space of less than a meter. So, you know, when teams haven't considered this, sometimes it can damage the cars and that can mean they go slower.
Great stuff. Thanks for that information, Lawrence. Well, let's head out on track and find out what happens in our next race.
Race number 4, final race for these 2 teams.
And Riptide Racing making that a full house with 4 wins, 1.456. Odyssey posting a 2.060.
Well, excellent stuff there from both teams. So let's check out what the leaderboard looks like for our first 2 teams. And here we have it. Riptide Racing there in position 1, posting a 1.448, and Odyssey there in position 2 with the 2.060. We see there that both teams have got a little asterisk next to their name, where we can pull the leaderboard back up again. And Nelson, could you just tell us what that little asterisk means?
Yeah, that means that the 2 teams were flagged to be under investigation due to a technical regulations issue. And just to explain, and because of what I said to the car of Riptide, that we had to move that rear wing, not to worry the team and any team, is that all cars are scrutineered first before they even race. So the cars are scrutineered exactly as they arrived at F1 Schools HQ, and then they're racing. And then if we have to do any adjustments because of the safe to race, we do. But in terms of scrutineering, they are measured exactly as the students sent them. But going back to it, there are certain regulations that have a deep impact on the performance of the car. So if you fail one of those regulations, that may be that you are having an unfair advantage on the track. So the consequence, unfortunately, for that is a point penalty during scrutineering. The car still races the 4 races, but unfortunately there's another consequence that may be missing out on the fastest car award and the best engineering award. Not the overall award, any team can win it, but on the fastest car and best engineering, there may be a small issue there.
Great stuff, thanks Nelson. So most of the awards up for grabs. There may be a couple that you might miss out on if you have failed one certain part of scrutineering. Great roundup there, Nelson. Well, let's find out our next 2 cars then, Amy.
And the next 2 cars taking the track are going to be Streamline and Stewarty Racers.
Great, two great looking cars here with very different designs. It looks like one of those cars may be 3D printed, Lawrence.
Yes, in fact, I think we can see 3D printed elements on both cars. So while we've got one car, the Stewartry Racers, with the rear wing, which is elevated above the rear of the car, we can see, that has some quite narrow supports. They might be fragile, but also the technical regulations do tell you about the height of the deceleration system. So maybe that's actually quite a clever move, moving it out of that area, which will be impacted as the car decelerates. On the other hand, we have Streamline with this front wing, which is out in front of the rest of the car, elongating the car, stretching those features out and reducing drag. I think this will be an exciting race with the two cars very similar weights.
Great stuff. Thanks for that, Lawrence. Well, let's find out what happens in race number 1.
Race number 1 in lane 1, Streamline. In lane 2, Stuart T Racers. It's a trick one for me, that one.
And lane number 2 takes that one with a 1.4. Streamline very close behind with a 1.575.
Two great times posted there for the first race of both of these two teams. Well done to you guys, and we can just see out on track Amy is loading up those cartridges, and we've got a thumbs up. We're ready to go. Let's get out on track for race number 2.
Race number 2, teams still in the same lanes. Lights off.
And what a close race that was, with 3 1,000ths in it. Streamline taking it with a 1.423. Stewartry Racers really close behind with a 1.426.
Wow, that was really, really close racing, wasn't it? How exciting. Great stuff. So we see teams having 4 races, Nelson. What kind of, or is it that just the fastest race wins? What kind of happens with the racing?
No. That's why it's not even important that they race alone, because sometimes that happens when we don't have a paired number of teams. But what's the most important is to log 4 good performances, and that's going to some calculations that you can check in the regulations, but those will define who stays first in the leaderboard.
So it's not just about winning and getting that fastest time, it's about having really fast times throughout all of the races. So consistency is key. So well done to both teams for posting those great times. I think that's given us enough time to switch lanes out on track. Let's get out there and find out what happens in race number 3.
Well, teams are now swapped lanes with Stuart T Racers in lane 1 and Streamline in lane 2.
And Stuart T Racers taking that one with a 1.447. Streamline a little bit further behind the 1.643.
Great stuff there from both teams again. Some great times being posted, so really, really good work. Some great engineering has clearly gone on back in your schools and wherever you've been working on your F1 in Schools project. So looks like we're ready on track, so let's head out for race number 4.
Race number 4 and final race for these two teams.
And that's a win for Stuart T Racers with a 1.447. Streamline posting a 1.561.
Great racing there from those two races, well done. A nice set of 4 races to get us going, so let's see how that's affected our leaderboard. And you can see the next 2 teams are highlighted in orange, and we've got Stuart T Racers there with no asterisk, so they've got a clean bill of health. Well done on that point. And you've got a 1.4, and in position 2 there's Streamline, who are under investigation with that 1.423, but those top 3 teams with really close times. I wonder if anybody can break that 1.4 second barrier. We've got 2 more rounds of racing, 4 more teams, so let's check out the next 2.
Well, let's see if these 2 can get that top spot. We have Peregrine, hopefully, and Galloway Engines.
Yeah, Peregrine, I would go with that as well, and Galloway Engines. Tripping myself up there with the easier name. Lawrence, what can you pull out here with these 2 cars?
Well, I might make a bit of a different take, in fact, on the name. I think the Peregrine must be taken from the Peregrine Falcon, a bit of maybe biomimicry here. And we can see, I believe, our first multi-element wing of the competition so far on the Peregrine car. So when you have those different tiers of wing, that is because when you attempt a large aggressive angle on a wing, you can have flow separation. But these 2 layers keep the flow energized and attached and performing the function the team intends. For Galloway engines, we've got this much longer car with those features stretched out. We've got these side pods that enclose the front and rear wheels, making sure no air can get in front of them and create turbulence. This is going to be a super exciting race.
Thanks for correcting us there, Lawrence. Well, Peregrine, let's find out how they perform in race 1.
Race 1, lane 1, Peregrine in lane 1, Galloway engines in lane 2.
And Galloway engines take that one with a 1.414, Peregrine taking a 1.584.
Sounds like we've put some bad luck on the Peregrine there. Love the biomimicry and what that's all about. Lawrence, can you just tell us a little bit more about what biomimicry means and how can our teams use that?
Yeah, so all around us in the natural world, we see like animals that have evolved to, best survive and, be better at what they do. So we can see from birds and fish that they've got these surfaces that can inspire planes and cars with their wings or the fins on a shark, for example. So we can see teams taking inspiration from this. Sometimes I'd say it was more with part of their brand integration, actually, that they might have a bit of their car that looks like a bird, for example. But sometimes they will look at the function that this part provides on the actual real animal and integrate that in their car.
Great stuff. Really, really top stuff. Thanks for that, Lawrence. And no doubt that'll be in your portfolios if you've used biomimicry and you've explained that as part of your project elements. Let's get out on track and find out what happens in race number 2.
Race number 2 with Peregrine in lane 1 still and Galloway engines in lane 2.
And Galloway engines winning that second race, the 1.351, a great time for them. And Peregrine with a 1.378, very close.
Really close racing, good racing as well. Well done to both teams. We see, Amy, some cool colours amongst our cars and teams today. How much did the sort of colour and identity come into play when you were part of your team?
That was always the award that I wanted to win, Tom, and I never won it. So I'm taking advice from any teams here. Yeah, it was really important to us. We made sure that we had a really consistent brand identity through all of the project elements, and even so far that we had the matching ribbons, matching shoelaces, matching leggings, everything. So yeah, I think it's really important that you have a really strong identity and a strong, unique team name, I think.
Great stuff, and we'll maybe get into Lawrence's team name a bit later in this region. So we're looking forward to get back in person, and we can't wait to see you guys dressed up in your matching outfits and bobbles and socks and all that kind of stuff. And we can't wait to see you guys back in person. But let's get on track and let's check out race number 3.
Race number 3, now in different lanes with Galloway engines in lane 1 and Peregrine in lane 2.
And Galloway engines taking race number 3 with a 1.388, Peregrine with a 1.532.
Well done to both teams there again. It's a really competitive class this. All teams posting great scores and great times on our track, so well done out there. And you can see that Amy's loading the canisters. She's given us the thumbs up. We're ready to go for race number 4.
Race number 4, final race for these two teams. Will it be Galloway or Peregrine?
And it will be Galloway Nelson with a 1.403, Peregrine with a 1.535.
Consistent scores from Peregrine there, so well done to Peregrine for posting those, and Galloway Engines well done for taking those races with some quick times. So let's see what that's done to our overall leaderboard. And as you can see, both teams posting under that 1.4 second mark. So Galloway Engines, who are flagged as under investigation with a 1.351, and Peregrine, there you have it, clean bill of health in second position with 1.378. So well done to both of those teams, jumping straight into the top of our leaderboard. So we have one more team left to race in this region, so let's find out who they are.
And our final solo racer is Ventura Racing.
Great stuff, looking good this car. It's got a kind of shiny effect in the paintwork, and it looks like a 3D printed wing there, Lawrence.
Yeah, this is a really cool car design actually, because they've got this, they've got their lower level of the front wing, but then they've got this nose that protrudes out a bit further, and they're keeping these elements kind of nice and horizontal as they're presented to the air. You know, they're not creating too much downforce, they're not creating too much lift, they're working on, you know, firing down this straight F1 in schools track as quickly as possible, and as we can see, they're also almost on that minimum weight. Which is obviously a really important thing that we've seen today.
And you can see down the middle of their car, they've got some screws, 4 of them in the bodywork there. That might be classed as an undefined feature, Nelson?
Yeah, so the rules and regulations will say to the teams all of the components that a car should have. So from the body to the front wing, to the rear wing, depending on the class that we're talking about. From nose cone to wing support structures to wheel support structures in professional class. So it's all in the rules and regulations, so they just need to read the rules and regulations carefully not to fall into the trap of having an undefined feature.
Great stuff. Well, we'll talk a little bit later in these 4 races about other ways how you could potentially add weight rather than having to use undefined features in your car. But let's find out how Ventura Racing does in race number 1.
Race number 1 with Ventura Racing. Unfortunately alone in lane 1, but this doesn't mean anything. They're not racing to eliminate a team in the other lane, just logging those 4 good times. And what's happening here is that the track is just waiting to check if there's no team in the second lane.
And there isn't. Ventura Racing posting a 1.408, very quick first time.
Really close to breaking that 1.4 second barrier, which only 2 of our teams have managed to do so far in this region. I wonder if they are going to be able to do that. So let's get straight back out on track and find out if they can.
Well, Ventura Racing still in lane 1 for the second race. Car looks great, by the way. Lights out. And now we just need to wait a couple of seconds, Amy, just for that time to appear on screen.
And you gave them some good luck there, Tom. Ventura Racing going under 1.4 with a 1.336.
Going well under 1.4 as well. Well done to Ventura Racing with that 1.336. A great time. Let's see if they can keep it up. So Lawrence, we just mentioned a little bit before about adding screws, probably to add weight to their car. So the team have done a great job of getting their car to a really good weight under the weight for our entry class cars. What other things could they have potentially done to get weight rather than potentially making an illegal part of their car?
Well, as we mentioned, you know, these screws may be an undefined feature. So part of that is, you know, if you're operating in an area of the car when you can use any material that you like, you do just need to classify these parts correctly as whatever it may be, whether it be the body, you know. But equally, there are sections, you know, where you might not be restricted as to the material, say the front or rear wings, where you could actually use a heavier material, for example, if your car is underweight. And you could actually also use that to your benefit if you find there's an advantage to perhaps the weight distribution of the car.
Great stuff. Thanks for that, Lawrence. Well, that's giving us time for Ventura Racing to switch into lane 2. So let's find out how Ventura Racing does.
Right, now the team looking great in lane 2 with those lights going out, and we just need some music for this waiting period, don't we?
And there we have it. Ventura Racing posting a 1.399, so just under that 1.4.
Well done.
And I think despite seeing some really fast times from this team, I do think there's been a bit of potential that's been missed out on here. Because if you watch closely during the races, you've seen on all of them, they've ridden down the side of the track there. And when you are tracking down the side, not down the centre, you've got that friction on the side of the car that could be, you know, you're wasting energy there, and you could try to be converting it into more forward energy and getting a bit of a faster time, but still really good efforts. I would say that is possibly due to like maybe a misalignment in the wheel structure when they've built the car, and you can find that teams might use jigs so that when they assemble those different elements, they keep them all nice and parallel.
Great stuff. Thanks for that, Lawrence. Really important tips and advice there as you guys in the entry class, hopefully you move into development next season. So make sure you take them on board. And these live shows will all be recorded, so you can watch them back and take all these nuggets of advice and bring them into your portfolios next season. So let's check out the fourth and final race of this single car.
Final race for Ventura Racing. And there we go.
Hey, that was very good, Johnson. And the car took your advice there, Lawrence, going a little bit quicker with a 1.309.
Great speed. I wonder if that was the quickest time of the region so far. Let's have a quick look and find out. And I was correct. It was Ventura Racing with a 1.309, maybe taking some of Lawrence's advice on board in between races. Well done. Ventura Racing are flagged with an under investigation, so who knows what that could be. But check out our award shows tomorrow, where you'll find out how all the awards are going to be distributed amongst these cars in our entry class. So we're going to move on now, and we're going to head into the racing for our development class teams. So hopefully you guys are ready and waiting, but we're going to pause for a second, and we're just going to go over to Nelson, just find out what are the main differences between entry and development class.
Right, so entry and development class. First of all, what do they have in common? And that is the standard wheel system. They need to use the mandatory standard wheels, axles, axle bushes, and even axle guides. But once that is out of the way, there's no-go zones, slightly different format in each of the classes, but this is basically an area on the car body that the teams cannot cut into. In entry class, the minimum weight is 65 grams, while in development class is 60 grams. And the most brilliant thing about entry class is the ways that you can actually manufacture your car. So 3 different ways here. So you can hand carve the car, you can fully 3D print the car, or you can CNC machine the car. While in development class, you can only use the CNC to produce the body of your car.
Great stuff. Well, thanks for that update, Nelson. Really insightful, and I'm sure the entry class teams there listening to that will be taking that advice and thinking already about what they can do in next season's competition. So, Amy, let's check out our first 2 development class cars.
Our first 2 development cars on track are going to be the Barracudas and, I don't know how I'm going to say this one, Sisu, maybe?
Sisu is what I was going to say. But Lawrence might come in there and correct us all again, but let's find out. What stats have you got there for us, Lawrence?
Yeah, so we've got 2 really cool cars here, and I think with the front wing of the Barracudas, you can see between their logo and the car that may be a bit of biomimicry again. And also, I love the design on their car. I don't know quite how they've got that pattern there, but you can see almost the scales like a Barracuda. When we look at the Sisu car, they've got an incredibly low ride height there with that low front nose. They're stopping air getting beneath the car by doing that, making sure you don't generate any lift. Actually too, I think the length may be incorrect on the Sisu car. That looks like the longer car. Yeah, I think this will be an exciting race.
Yeah, it definitely looks like one. So let's get out and let's check out race number 1.
Race number 1, the Barracudas in lane 1, Sisu in lane 2.
And what a close first race we have there. Sisu taking it with a 1.523. Barracudas so close behind with a 1.580. Sorry.
2 great starting times, so close in terms of the racing that we've got there. So well done to both teams. I have to say I did like the scales on the Barracudas car as well. Looks very intricate, and that Sisu logo as well. I love how the road comes up onto the top of the car. Looks absolutely fantastic. So well done for achieving such great finishes to both teams. And let's head out on track now. Let's check out race number 2.
Race number 2, the Barracuda still in the same lane, Sisu in lane 2.
And Sisu taking that one with a 1.510. Barracudas with a 1.701.
I think, Tom, that they deserve a Ronaldo cheer. Sue!
Brilliant, that, Nelson. Absolutely brilliant. And I'm sure that they've been doing that a lot back at school. And if you haven't, get out on the playground and get doing it. It's absolutely fantastic to see.
Well, maybe you'll do it way better than me.
Maybe not, but make sure you can comment in the chat. Let us know what you thought of Nelson's Sue as we are watching the track. So let's get out and let's check out the next race.
Let's see if the team deserves more Sues or Cs. In lane 1 now, and Barracudas in lane 2. It's another Sue!
Sisu taking that one with a 1.489. Barracuda's close behind with a 1.545.
Lawrence, we're seeing slightly, things are getting crazy here in F1 in Schools HQ, and we are loving it. I hope you're loving it at home. But we're seeing slightly slower times than we saw in our entry class cars. Is there any reason that you think there is for that?
I mean, these two cars racing now are slightly over that minimum weight, which does drop for the development class, so I think that will definitely play a part. But also we do have, especially with the Barracudas, quite an intricate car here, so maybe that's not faring so well over these repeated races.
Okay, great stuff. Well, thanks for your advice again, Lawrence. Let's find out what happens in the fourth race here.
Fourth and final race. So Team Sisu in lane 1 and the Barracudas in lane 2.
And a final victory for Sisu with a 1.518. Barracuda's close behind with a 1.618.
Great stuff. Well done to both teams. And thanks for cheering Nelson up in the studio as well. He's really enjoying himself over there. Let's check out the leaderboard for the first time in our development class. And here we have it. Sisu up there in place number 1 with a 1.489, and the Barracudas in second position with 1.545. Both teams under investigation, so it's all to play for in this class. Let's check out the next two teams, Amy.
And round 2 of the development class is going to feature Project Nitro and Braze F1 Racing.
Project Nitro and Braze F1 Racing. I mean, I love that that green colour that we can see there and the kind of shiny finish on that. And then Braze F1 Racing with that really interesting looking nose cone, which I'm sure you're going to be talking about, Lawrence.
Yeah, sending us back to the kind of 2010s era of F1 with that high nose, letting the air get underneath it. You know, they've got a clear channel through the centre of the car, and that is frontal area that the car does not have. Parts of the car that aren't having to force themselves through the air. So that car I think we could see with a little less drag. Both teams obviously taking account for all of the elements of their car, including the paint. Two very light cars. And I'm loving that kind of British racing green from Project Nitro. That's awesome. You know, maybe a more conventional design for them, but I think there's a reason we see a lot of those designs too. It's, you know, tried and tested.
Great stuff. Well, two pretty light cars, so maybe we're going to get some faster times. Let's head out on track and check out race number 1.
Race number 1 with Project Nitro in lane 1 and Braze F1 Racing in lane 2.
And that British racing green really helping Project Nitro there with a very quick 1.288. Braze F1 with a 1.303.
Wow, some really fast racing there. Clearly, getting close to that weight is really, really vital to getting a slightly faster time. So well done to both teams on achieving that. And again, breaking that 1.3 second barrier. Let's see if both teams can manage to do that by the end of these sets of races. Let's get out on track and see what happens in race number 2.
Race number 2 with the teams still in the same lanes. Lights out.
And Project Nitro winning that one again with a 1.299. Braze F1 Racing close behind with a 1.304.
Great stuff again, two brilliant times, such close racing, so exciting, and it's a shame that the students aren't here, you guys, to see your cars flying down our track. And Amy, we know that you've competed in the professional class before. What was your favourite part of competing in F1 in schools?
I think the most nerve-wracking part was definitely pressing the button. That was the worst part because you're just so nervous and there's so much pressure on you to try and get the fastest reaction time. But then as soon as that's done, that's when the fun can start and that's when you can really relax. and enjoy the other judging sessions because you've already submitted a lot of the other project elements. So I think that's kind of the best part, is when the racing's over and done with, you know where you stand with your car, then you've got everything to make up for in all the other judging elements.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks for that, Amy. We can't, as we previously said, we can't wait to get back in person and see you guys out on track. So the cars, I believe, have been switched lanes. Let's check out what happens in our next race.
Next race, race number 3 with Braze F1 Racing and Project Nitro.
And Braze F1 Racing posting an incredibly quick time there with a 1.271. Project Nitro going a little bit faster than before with a 1.296.
Wow, great stuff. Look at that. Both teams breaking that 1.3 second barrier and coming in with 2 really, really strong times, mixing things up in this development class competition. Well, can't wait to get out and see the next race. So let's head out straight there and check out race number 4.
Race number 4, let's see what's going to happen. Who's going to take this one?
Project Nitro take that one, the 4th and final race, the 1.286. Braze F1 Racing going just above the 1.3s with the 1.343.
Great stuff, brilliant racing. Well, let's check out the leaderboard and see what that's done to it. And as expected, Braze F1 Racing there with a 1.271 are under investigation, as are Project Nitro, who scored that 1.286. So 2 incredibly fast cars there. All 4 teams are under investigation. So let's see if our next 2 teams can get a fully legal car and get some quick times as well. Who are the teams, Amy?
And the next 2 teams we have Virage, possibly, and Vega Racing. Sorry, I butchered both of them. I'm very sorry to the teams.
Virage Racing and Vega Racing, I'd probably say. So 2 great-looking teams there and team identities. I've got to say, I love that vibrant pink colour that you can see in Vega Racing and Virage there, with that Ferrari kind of vibe flowing through their car. Lawrence, what can you pull out for us?
I mean, we can see from the start that these are 2 very well-built cars. You know, the Virage car, it shines in the photo we've got there. And also the Vega Racing, they've attempted some quite complex shapes, but it is looking like a very clean design all the same. So the Vega Racing front wing, we see that lower element has a very aggressive slope. And I think they're just trying to force the air up over the front wheels, just so they don't spin it up and make it turbulent, affecting the aerodynamics as it goes down the car. On the other hand, Virage have this long sloping front wing, I think aiming to achieve the same thing, but a bit of a different approach there. And 2 different concepts with the side pods actually as well. So Virage have this wide leading edge, cutting back, sloping back in as you go rearwards. They're letting the air go in between the rear wheels, whereas Vega's actually expands outwards and around the rear wheels. 2 different concepts. It'll be interesting to see how they head up against each other. But just a note before we go racing, this might not be a direct comparison of like the 2 aerodynamic concepts, because we mustn't forget that weight does play a part in this, and there is quite a difference between these 2 cars.
And look at Vega Racing getting absolutely bang on the money with their weight. Well, I can see Max with a really happy double thumbs up out on track. So let's head out there for race number 1.
Race number 1 with Virage in lane 1 and Vega Racing in lane 2.
And that weight advantage really helping Vega Racing there with a 1.262. Virage with a quick 1.627.
Great racing from both teams. And remember, we're looking for that consistency. So Virage, don't worry too much if you've got that slightly slower time. It's about posting 4 really consistent times. So let's see if your team can do that and maintain that consistency in race number 2.
Race number 2, teams in the same lane. Let's see if it's going to be a Viva Las Vegas Racing.
And now I want you to sing the song, Nelson, please. No, don't want to do that. 1.272 for Vega Racing and Virage with a 1.603.
Brilliant racing.
Actually don't know the song.
I'm not going to sing it.
You're the only person that knows it, Amy. You've got to inform us all.
Viva Las Vegas.
That's the one I wanted.
That is
That's the one, isn't it?
Great singing as well there, Nelson.
Thank you,
so,
thank
Don't forget, you can comment on the singing there, and if you enjoyed that short tune there from Nelson, stick it in the chat and yeah, let us know. Great racing again from Vega. Clearly, Lawrence, the lower weight of that team, is having a large impact on the race times that they're achieving.
Yeah, we're seeing that. So we see in the entry and development classes that with these standard wheel systems, the two main differentiating factors are the aerodynamics and the mass of the cars. And when we do have some very similar weighted cars, we do see that the aerodynamics are still very important. As we get to the professional class later, a third element is introduced. That is the wheels and the wheel systems which they're allowed to design themselves. So they're looking to reduce friction between the wheels and the track and reduce the internal friction with bearings, stopping the wheels rotating.
Incredibly complex competition, and some amazing solutions that you guys come up with. It absolutely amazes every year the differences that we see in the cars and the different shapes and designs that just keep getting churned out by all of you guys. So congratulations on that front. Let's head out on track then and check out race number 3.
Race number 3. Now, in different lanes, Vega Racing in lane 1 and Virage in lane 2.
And Vega Racing winning that third race with a 1.238, Virage with a quicker 1.584.
Well done Virage there, going a little bit quicker, well done. And Vega Racing really consistently breaking that 1.3 second barrier, so well done to Vega Racing. Let's check out race number 4 and find out what happens.
Well, let's see if the team will deserve another song in the end. Vega Racing in lane 1 and Virage in lane 2.
I'm going to hold you to that, Nelson. Vega Racing making a full house with a 1.254. Virage with a 1.627.
Well, Viva Las Vega.
Okay.
There you go.
I mean, I think that's a great strapline, and actually that's maybe something that wants to get built into the brand identity. Let's see how Vega Racing get on in our award show tomorrow, and also Virage hopefully scooping some awards. So make sure you're here and live at F1 in Schools HQ so you can see what awards go where. Right, I believe that we've got one more round of racing after we've checked out the leaderboard. I'm all over the place. Let's check out the leaderboard. And there we have it. Vega Racing with that 1.238 lightning fast, and the first car in this region to have a clean bill of health. So well done to Vega Racing, you've smashed that one. And Virage, they're in 6th position with a 1.584, but not far off the other teams. So really, really well done, a great performance, but you are also flagged for under investigation. Now, as I was saying, we've got one more round of racing in this class, and we've got 2 more teams. Who are they, Amy?
And the final Scottish development race will have Raptor Racing and Celerity.
Raptor Racing and Celerity, 2 great looking cars. They look really well finished. Lawrence, attention to detail, is that going to have much of an impact?
Definitely. I mean, attention to detail is everything in F1 in schools with these, we're looking for those consistent times, and that's such a key factor. So Raptor Racing, they've got quite a short car. They're just, that minimises the mass, having less physical volume to your car. But on the other hand, Celerity have a much longer car, and we're actually seeing that they've also raised their rear wing up. That moves it out of the turbulent air. You get a nice clean flow of air to it, meaning it'll just perform a lot better and more as you intend it to do. That's got a bit of an upward slope, so they're obviously trying to create a bit of downforce there. We'll see if that creates a bit of drag. F1 in schools teams always have to decide, what are the factors that are slowing the cars down, and how do you approach that? But with that less volume in their car, we do see Raptor Racing with a slightly lighter car. I think that will play in their favour.
Well, let's get out on track and let's see if either of these 2 teams can knock Vega Racing off the top spot.
Right, in lane 1, Raptor Racing. In lane 2, Celerity.
And Raptor Racing going rapidly there with a 1.304, Celerity with a 1.532.
Great stuff, great first times from both teams there, well done. And again, let's see if we can get some consistency flowing through these times. Both teams will be in the mix on that leaderboard with both of those times, so really, really well done. Let's get out on track and let's see how you perform in your second race.
Right, so will teams still in the same lanes, who will take race 2?
And Raptor Racing take the second race with a 1.374, Celerity with a 1.548.
Great stuff again from both teams. Celerity definitely been incredibly consistent there. Very similar time to the first one that they posted in the first race. So really top stuff. Well done. And Lawrence, we know that you have also competed in the professional class. What advice would you give to our development teams if they decide to move into the professional class next season?
Well, you know, that book of regulations does get that bit thicker as you go to the professional class side. Always advise complying with the regulations as fully as possible. Because, you know, the racing has that element of chance. You know, you don't know what pace the other teams will have when you arrive. But by coming to the competition with a fully compliant car, you can guarantee you lose no points there and, you know, boost yourself up that leaderboard.
Great advice, Lawrence. I would 100% take that on board. So the cars have switched lanes. Let's check out the third race.
Third race with the teams now in different lanes, Celerity in lane 1 and Raptor Racing in lane 2.
And Raptor Racing getting that little bit closer to the 1.2, to the 1.304. Celerity going a little bit quicker with a 1.522.
Well done there to both teams. Again, incredibly consistent. And Raptor Racing really getting close to breaking that 1.3 barrier. I wonder if they are going to do it in the next race. I think they might do, Amy. What do you think?
I think they can do it. They're looking quick, I think.
Yeah, and Celerity, I wonder if they could break that 1.5 second barrier for the first time.
Setting big targets for these teams, Tom.
Let's find out. In race 4, let's head out on track.
Race 4. Tension is in the air. Celerity, lane 1. Raptor Racing, lane 2.
We talked about Vegas before. You're being very lucky, Tom. Raptor Racing going under the 1.3s, the 1.271. Celerity going under the 1.5s, the 1.489.
Wow, that was absolutely amazing last race from both our teams, so well done and a great way to finish off our development class. Let's check out the leaderboard then. And there we have it, Raptor Racing under investigation in joint second position with Braze F1 Racing getting that 1.271, and Celerity also under investigation, smashing in 5th position joint with Sisu with that 1.489.
Loved it, Tom.
I wanted to be part
Way
of
better
the
than
fun.
mine.
Do you think? Who knows? Sorry for the cringy jokes there from myself and Nelson. We do hope you're enjoying the show and some really great time. So well done again to our development class teams. You've done a fantastic job. So make sure you're here and back tomorrow for that awards show to find out where those awards are going and to see who makes it to the national finals, which we are proud to announce are live and in person at the National Autosport International Show 2023. That's January. So before we get over to our professional class teams to see some of our exciting racing, let's go over to Lawrence, who's got some hints and tips for how you could potentially improve your car next season.
So we talk a lot about in F1 in schools about the aerodynamics of the car. So I thought we'd look at flow separation. So we can see here we've got this sphere. This is a very simple shape to demonstrate the airflow, but we can also see these convex curves, a bit of the Coanda effect. The air sticks to it and follows round. We've got this yellow section which represents the boundary layer, which sucks that airflow down onto it. And we can see here these red spirals. This is the turbulent air behind the wheel. So now, if we go to a golf ball, something dimpled, not a smooth surface anymore, we can see that the boundary layer is actually energized by a small layer of turbulence that sucks the airflow down, meaning that we've got a much smaller wake behind the ball. This is also called the Magnus effect. And so you can utilize this in other ways on your car too. And this is, as I'm drawing on the screen here, so these can be known as vortex generators. These are when you create a dimple, for example, on your car that then does create this small layer of turbulence that drags the airflow down, meaning you have less flow separation, less turbulent wake behind the car, and less drag, meaning your car gets to the finish line that bit more faster.
Wow, some great stuff there. Thanks for that, Lawrence. Really, really intriguing. So remember, this will be a recorded show also, so you can go back and rewind and fast forward, get to Lawrence's really, really good snippets of information and take them into your car designs next season, if you haven't already, which I'm sure most of our teams already have. So let's get on to our final class of the day, and that's professional class. What are the sort of differences between the classes, Nelson, development and professional?
Right, so we're not limited anymore by the standard wheels and axle guides. You can actually construct your own wheels and use bearings. And there is no no-go zone anymore. There's a virtual cargo. But the most interesting thing is that the designs can be way more complex. But sometimes with complexity comes fragile components. Let's see if that doesn't happen in this professional class.
Let's see, maybe we might get some breakages, hopefully not. Let's head out and check out the first two cars then, Amy.
And our first two cars in the professional class today are Horizon Racing and Honeycomb Racing.
Now, we all know that that's one of Nelson's favourite terms, honeycomb, so yep. I'm sure you'll be rooting for Honeycomb Racing, Nelson, so I'm going to root for Horizon Racing. Let's see what's out on the horizon then, Lawrence. What's in the stats?
Yeah, so as we can see, the other element of the professional class is that they're now allowed to come down to a minimum weight of 50 grams, and these cars are the lightest we've seen so far today. And also mentioning the wheels which they're allowed to design themselves, so I thought I'd have a little look at those. With Horizon, we can see that they've got these flat sidewalls to the wheels, minimizing turbulence generated as the wheels spin around as it goes down the track. Whereas Honeycomb Racing have made a bit of, there's a compromise there. So they've obviously got less material on their wheels, but they are open, meaning that air can get into them and be spun up, creating turbulence. It'll be very interesting, as these cars are very close on weight, to see if those flat sidewalled wheels of Horizon can push them ahead.
Well, thanks for those really good stats there, Lawrence. Let's get out on track and check out race number one.
Race number one, in lane 1, Horizon Racing. In lane 2, Honeycomb Racing.
And Honeycomb Racing going extremely quick there with a 1.123. Horizon Racing a little bit slower with a 1.281.
Sorry to all teams for that appalling dad joke, but absolutely astonishing racing, incredibly fast times from both teams. We love to see that. And Lawrence, is that down to the fact that the teams have got their own wheel systems compared to the standard wheel systems we've seen in entry and development, do you think?
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. Having the bearings to just reduce the inertia on the wheels so they spin so much more easily and they get that faster start makes a really huge difference. But we also see, as well as that, our two teams actually have different colours of wheels, which kind of makes you think they might have used different materials. And something I'd really advise is looking into like low friction materials that you can use for your wheels, because this professional class is so incredibly competitive that anything that'll gain you that thousandth of a second is worthwhile.
Research is key, and some great little snippets of information from Lawrence again, giving away all his tips from when he competed in those in that professional class. Let's head out on track and check out race number 2.
Race number 2. Let's see if it's going to be another sweet honey race or Horizon Racing taking.
And Honeycomb taking that one with a sweet victory with a 1.278. Horizon Racing really close behind with a 1.294.
Both ever so slightly slower this time round, but again posting incredibly fast times. We're really starting to see those differences between the regulations in that development class into our professional class. And we know, Amy, that you went straight into the professional class when you competed. You skipped the entry and development class. Have you got any advice for teams who might be watching this now thinking of just going straight into a professional class team?
I think you definitely can do it. It's very difficult, and there's a lot of information to kind of take on board. As Nelson explained, the way that the regulations work is that you have kind of a little bit more freedom on the engineering side, but then there's a lot more regulations that you need to comply to. So a lot of our first couple of competitions were breaking a lot of regulations and making us uneligible for some of the awards because we didn't fully understand what we were always doing. So I would definitely say to teams it's very good to go through entry development and into professional, but if you think you're ready and you're up for a really tough challenge, I think you can go straight into it.
Great stuff, thanks for that, Amy. So if you think you're ready for a tough challenge, get straight into the professional class next season. If not, maybe take a more different approach and go in for the entry route or the development route and build up that way round. Well, let's get out on track. I think the cars are ready for race number 3.
Race number 3, now in lane 1, Honeycomb Racing and Horizon Racing in lane 2.
And we're back to under 1.2 for Honeycomb with a 1.171. Horizon Racing posting a 1.239.
And I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but there was a breakage in lane 2. So explain what will have happened, or what will be happening now, sorry, Nelson, with the car out on track.
Right, the track team, the track judges, in coordination with the track team, will make sure that the car is rebuilt to be ready to race again. This breakages happen. Sometimes the teams don't consider enough the pressures of the deceleration into the deceleration system. If you carefully look at the regulations, there are specs for the deceleration system, so it's a question of actually choosing the height and the shape of your rear wing to minimize that risk. If it breaks, if it gets damaged, our team is doing every effort with amazing super glue and other techniques to put the car back together to another race.
Fantastic, great stuff. Well, we've got a thumbs up out on track. I think that car has been fixed and we're ready to race again.
Right, race 4, final race, Honeycomb Racing or Horizon Racing.
And Honeycomb Racing take that one with a very quick 1.127. Horizon Racing coming back from a trip from Dr. Brown Bear, if we've got any Peppa Pig fans out there, with a 1.263.
Great reference there, Amy. I'm sure we do have many Peppa Pig fans out there watching, but more importantly, we've got F1 in School racing fans enjoying the racing, some cracking times that we're seeing there. Let's check out the leaderboard. And there we have it. Both teams flagged under investigation. Honeycomb with that sweet time of 1.123 and Horizon Racing just behind there with a 1.239. Really close racing. Well done to both teams with some incredibly good times. Now, I think we've only got 3 professional class teams, so let's check out who the last professional class team of this region are, Amy.
And our final solo racer for the professional class in Scotland is Vortex.
Team Vortex, look at that red and white car. Looks really sleek design and it's got a really glossy finish, Lawrence.
Yeah, so that surface finish of the cars, I mean, one, it does just represent a team's attention to detail, but it can, as we were talking about flow separation there, influence how the air behaves over the car. We see, like among the F1 teams, some have glossy cars, some have matte cars, and the theory is that with a matte car, you have a bit of that vortex generation on a very small scale at the surface, which might aid the lack of flow separation and adhesion of the air over the car. But, you know, you look for the thousandths of seconds here. I've been able to find a difference so far today. But we can see this team has paid incredible detail to the aerodynamics of the car with these pods behind the rear wheels of their car. So usually, you know, the wheels spin up, they create this turbulence as the car races down the track. But this pod will actually just tidy up the airflow, reducing the weight behind the car and reducing the drag.
Thanks for that, Lawrence. And Nelson, I can see you wanting to say something there.
Yes, I have a message from the scrutineers about Team Vortex. So sometimes when the teams are building their cars and choosing their materials and without probably testing the car suffer damage. Some of the materials are quite brittle. What happened was the axles on this car were quite fragile, and even there was already damage in one of the axles when we received the package. But what the F1 Schools HQ team did was completely almost rebuild the axles to be able to allow the car to race. So don't worry, team. We fixed your car, it's all ready to go, and you will see the car racing 4 times.
So there we have it, the car safe to race and ready to go. So just check out your materials as well and find out if they are a brittle material, and maybe there's something else out there that you could potentially use for that particular element of your design. Well, let's find out how Vortex does in race number 1.
Right, in lane 1, Vortex looking great. Let's see how they do. So So the system is just going to again take a little bit of time to show us the result, just trying to check if there is no team in lane 2.
And Vortex winning that solo race with a 1.422.
Slightly slower time there than we've seen from the other 2 cars, but still a good time nevertheless. So well done to Team Vortex with that 1.422. Well, let's see if Vortex can improve on that time as we head back out on track for race number 2.
Race number 2 with Team Vortex. Let's see if they will be able to improve. There they go.
It looked quicker to me, do you think so?
Yeah.
And it was with a 1.369.
Nice. Well done, Team Vortex there, increasing, getting under that 1.4 second barrier with another good time of a 1.369. Top work, team. So we're getting close to the end of the professional class. Amy, what is your favourite part of being part of a team? Was it the teamwork? Was it having a job role? Was it the competing element? What could you pick out and what do you enjoy the most there?
Well, I was a team manager, so I liked bossing everyone around. But yeah, it was really nice to kind of have a support system for when you need help with some of the things that you're doing. So I know that if somebody on my team was struggling with an element that they were doing, then another part of the team would try and help as best we could. Yep. F1 in Schools really does create kind of bonds for life, and I know that a lot of people, a lot of alumni can say that they're still really good friends with people that they competed with and even people in other teams that they've competed against. So yeah, I think that's definitely a big positive of the F1 in Schools competition, is that you do really make friends for life.
Great, so thanks for that. I mean, yeah, absolutely. All our teams competing. Make sure you get on LinkedIn and on our social media channels and check each other's channels out and network together, especially while we're not in person, and try and create those bonds in a slightly different way. So I think we've got a thumbs up, yeah, out on track. Let's head out for race number 3 for Team Vortex.
So of course we now have the team in lane 2. Lights going on. And they're out. So let's see if we're going to see even the fastest time.
And we do, Nelson, with a 1.338 for Vortex, a great time for them.
Just improving iteratively as the races go along. So well done to Team Vortex, that 1.338. So we only have one more race left of the Scottish region. So let's head out on track for race 4 to see how Team Vortex can finish off in their races.
It may be one of those type of bearings that just perform better after each race because they're heating up. Let's see if it's going to happen again.
Let's see.
Oh.
And we'll wait for confirmation, but I think as we can all see there, a part of a wheel, I think, might have come off before the end of the track, so,
Well, I will explain.
Well, we've got a time, but Nelson will explain.
Yeah, so we have a time, but unfortunately it's going to be a DNF on this race because we could clearly see that one of the wheels stayed behind during racing, but it actually crossed the finish line. But what that means is the time that the car logged it lighter without all of its components, just with 3 wheels. So we don't want to give all of this team an unfair advantage. So unfortunately, guys, this one is a DNF.
Oh, our first DNF of the region and in our last race. So hard luck and hard lines there, Team Vortex. But let's see how you've placed in our professional class leaderboard. And here we have it. There's Team Vortex coming in place 3 with that 1.338, just slightly off Horizon Racing and Honeycomb there in position 1. But you know, it must be said, all 3 teams have done an absolutely fantastic job. It's incredibly difficult and time-consuming to achieve what you have, just getting an amazing car out onto our track. So really, really well done to you guys. Kudos from the F1 in Schools HQ team here in the studio. So what we're going to do now is, as Lawrence mentioned right at the start, we can see all of your teams and all of the times in one final leaderboard. So let's have a look how they compare. The overall standings loading in here. Check out for your team, and you can see there Honeycomb Racing Topping everything, although they are flagged for under investigation, with that 1.123, a really impressive time, the only team breaking the 1.2 barrier. And there's Vega Racing from the development class getting into second position. You guys are definitely ready to step up, as are the majority of the other development teams as well. And just to highlight, Ventura Racing there, getting in 7th position from the entry class with a 1.309. Top stuff, well done to everybody, and it's a really condensed leaderboard from 1 to 18. So well done everybody, really impressive. So I'd just like to say a massive well done, congratulations and thank you to our students for the amount of effort, time and work that you have put in, and with the delay to the season as well. You've done an incredibly fantastic job waiting until today to see how your cars have performed. But it's not long until tomorrow to see where the awards are going to go, so make sure you do get involved and check out the live show tomorrow. I'd also like to thank your teachers who shouldn't go unnoticed. They put a lot of graft in the background. They support you and help you, so make sure you do thank them, and we are thanking you from F1 in Schools HQ. And I must thank everybody in the studio. So Lawrence, thank you very much. Nelson, Amy, thank you to you guys. And from me, Tom, wish you all a lovely day, and we can't wait to see you tomorrow for our award show. See you soon.